Hey there, welcome back to Reddit Cheating Wife, the best cheating stories on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more cheating stories like these. Now, let's get into today's video. I, 21 female, suspect that I might be my boyfriend, 29 male of 2 years, side chick. Some details. Tim and I have been together for 2 years. We are both foreigners living in Europe. Names have been changed. Tim is a very private person in general, and so maybe some of the strangeness stems from that. In order to explain everything, I think I have to start at the very beginning. Tim and I met at an event for native English speakers after each of us having lived here for a year. We hit it off immediately. Later that week, we went to a pub crawl with other people from the event and up. Only a few days later, we decided to meet up again, but when trying to decide if it'd be at my place or his, he told me it has to be mine and he'll explain why later. For the record, I do not live in an ideal situation to be having people, much less men, over, and he was completely aware of the situation. He came over and told me that he is currently still living with his ex-girlfriend of about 3 months. He had his own room and everything, but because he had prepaid for 6 months of rent to lend her some money, he was staying there. Okay, so yeah, I know this is weird, but who am I to judge? He says they are definitely broken up, and I'm just sleeping with the guy right now, so whatever. A few weeks go by, and we decide to start dating exclusively and officially. He says he's just living with his ex, who will name Stephanie temporarily for another 3 months, and then he'll find another place. Alright, so it's a weird situation, but I trust him, and he'll leave in 3 months. He complains about having to live with her and says it's uncomfortable. He also told me why they broke up, which was because he caught her cheating on him with her ex at a party. So I'm not worried about them getting back together. I'm not 100% comfortable with the situation, but it's manageable. A few months pass, and Tim doesn't move out. He says he's now got his own little apartment in the same house, but that it's so much better for him to stay there because he doesn't have to buy any furniture and the rent is cheap. Remember, we're foreigners, so buying a ton of furniture that you're just going to have to sell when you leave is annoying. He eventually starts saying that he's going to bring me over there to show me that they're living separately and whatnot. Long story short, that never happened. Every time I asked him to ask her about it, he'd say that she'd get upset and blah blah blah. Apparently, she was aware that he had a girlfriend but didn't like it and wanted to get back together. After a year, he finally moved out. Not into his own place, but into the spare room at his buddy's house. I had been to his buddy's place before, only once, though, and that has been the one and only time I've ever met one of his non mutual friends, which is suspicious and strange on its own. I didn't help with the move, not for lack of trying, so no. I never saw him move his stuff there. Again, this was a temporary solution until he found a place of his own. Through various circumstances, company being bought out, which led to job insecurity, him being extremely picky about finding an apartment, he has still yet to move into a place of his own. It's been about 10 months since he's moved into his buddy's place, and I've yet to be there, even though I've asked many times. He always says yes, but then later says that he doesn't want to intrude or be a nuisance, etc. So, essentially, I've never seen where he lives. I'm suspicious because I've never met his friends or Skyped with his family, but here's where it gets interesting. I couldn't sleep last night, so I stalked Facebook. Weirdly, Tim's tagged photos and posts do not appear on his wall, so I searched for them. Looking through the photos, I found 3 of him during his summer visit. In each of the 3 photos, a girl sits beside Tim, untagged. In 2 of the 3 photos, his arm is around her, but the poses are more formal. 2 of the pictures are with friends, so I assumed she's a local friend. They are with his sister, her husband, and daughter in one photo, so a more personal picture. Stephanie has no Facebook and I have no idea who she is. I can't find her on Google, but I think this is her. I'm not sure why, but I do. I looked up Stephanie's grandmother's obituary on Google. It was January, after Tim had moved out and they had been divorced. On the obituary, he is listed as a family member with Stephanie. The grandmother left him money in her will and he was close to her, but I'm suspicious. If what I suspect is true, he managed to keep this secret from me and her for 2 years. But I'm stuck now. That way, he'll have an excuse and I'll just accept it because I want to trust him and be with him. I'm not sure how to prove that the girl in the pictures is Stephanie or how to know for sure, so I need advice there. I won't leave him until I know 100% because I truly love him, but I don't know how I can know 100%. Anyone with suggestions? But be constructive. Long time no see. I didn't want to update the story until I knew more, except for the few comments and PMs about being I really appreciate everyone's input. And I read every single comment and message. So, first, thank you all. Like many others, I started with a conversation with Tim in which I made it very clear how much the situation bothered me and why. I tried to explain my feelings and why I was upset. He apologized profusely and understood. We both cried. He said he never meant to hurt me, that he didn't realize how important this was to me, and that he was selfish. He said I'd met his friends, see where he stays, Skype with his family, etc. And he said he couldn't imagine his life without me. He said he wants to find us an apartment, and when I finish school, he wants us to move back in together. He also said he was in the obituary because he is still close to the family and they still wish I was a part of the family. I waited to see if he kept his end of the bargain this time, and we made up and all is well. I didn't mention that I had found Stephanie's landline number and called it, asking for Tim. When I asked for Tim, Stephanie's dad said to call Tim's cell phone because this was the landline. So, not very useful. Before you freak out about the dad, the house is a duplex with the parents' half and Stephanie's half. This is common in small towns. Tim texted me a few days later asking if I had called Stephanie's house for him. I refused to deny it. He said she texted him saying a girl with an accent had called the house asking for him, and he assumed it was me. I explained that I did it because I was desperate for information. I said it was unconclusive, but I explained that I felt forced to take such actions because I felt like I would never get answers any other way. I apologized for bothering Stephanie and her family. After a few days, he calmed down and forgave me, but warned me not to meet his friends because he told them what had happened and they were enraged. I waited a few weeks to see if anything changed, but nothing did. So, over the weekend, he got very drunk and I opened his phone with his fingerprint while we slept. I found texts from Stephanie the day before discussing dinner plans. He told me he was out of town for work that night. He used the same pet names for her as he does for me. He told her he had to leave town for work this weekend and he'd miss her. I looked through their recent messages and saw that he had sent her many of the same pictures he had sent me. A glass of wine with his buddy and his girlfriend had been offered. He picked her up from work several times and they discussed who would make dinner and what they should eat. On dates where I knew he stayed with me, I looked for him. He always said he was visiting friends or out of town for work. I also found a family text message with Tim, his sister, his mother, and Stephanie. I looked at pictures Stephanie had sent him and saw her in the ones I found on Facebook. So you were correct. He's been living with her and seeing me for 2 years. An allusion to his love and admiration for me and our future together. I've been duped and exploited. And it makes me feel I haven't talked to him yet. But I plan to tell him everything when he comes over later this week. I'm also tell him he's in my ideal conversation. He'd explain why he did it and what he was thinking, but I'm pretty sure I'll never know or understand. Obviously, I'll dump him. I will also write Stephanie a letter explaining my side of the story. I'll give her dates when I know he stayed with me overnight so she can compare them to dates when he didn't return. I'll also include a USB stick with pictures of Tim and me from the last 2 years, as well as screenshots of recent conversations. I can't make her believe me, but I want to try. I feel obligated to tell her what kind of man she's been dating for 4 years. I am open to any and all suggestions on my plan and how to proceed. To be honest, I'm lost and helpless right now. I'm losing a huge part of my life in this country by breaking up with Tim, and I'll definitely miss him. Thanks in advance. Thank you for listening, and sorry for the length. I went too far.